everyone. Welcome to our PC podcast series, episode 8. We have a special guest with us today from a very special sector, a sector that pretty much drives the economy. The mineral and petrochemical resources sector is a well-known topic in the country. However, it's poorly understood, to be honest. Its contributions cannot be mistaken, though. And it continues to develop this country in a really big way. I'm joined by the president of the PNG Core, the Papua New Guinea Chamber of Resources and Energy. And we're going to talk about basically what PNG Core is all about, but more importantly, of very exciting events that are going to take place next week in Port Moresby at the APEC House. President is Anthony Smaré, a very popular guy. Those who do not know him, he will introduce himself. I might say something wrong and we'll both be in trouble for that. So, Anthony, please, if you could introduce yourself too.
I'm Anthony. I'm not sure what you want me to say in terms of introduction.
As the president, yeah?
Yeah, so I'm president of PNG Chamber of Resources and Energy. And I've been, I think, in the role for a couple of years. I am an independent president, so I don't actually work for the industry. I used to work for the industry a long time ago, but I came back to take on this role as the president because I was able to, the industry felt important that the person who leads it is independent, so he's able to talk openly and honestly with all the membership. And I've been in the role for a couple of years, but my background, I am mixed Hagen and CPIC, and CPIC is like CPIC on Sundown side and East CPIC side.
Great CPIC, yeah.
Greatest CPIC, married to a Bougainvillean. My children are basically the reflection of the whole country, like a lot of kids are now. They're amalgam of all these different countries and cultures in our amazing, this amazing sort of conglomerate of tribes that our country has become over the last 50 years. And my background, I started my career, I think I did one of the first to do a double degree in law and applied science. Oh. Like 20, maybe 30 years ago, I went to uni.
That's a long time.
Yeah, and I graduated in 98 with a double degree. I drilled for oil for about 6 months, and then I realized that I'd rather be a lawyer. And I was a lawyer in Australia, and I was a partner of a law firm, came back here, went into business, went into the mining industry, went back out of business. I run a private equity company now, I personally employ maybe 3,000 Papua New Guineans. Yeah. And, make contributions to the country to that way. But one of the most important roles I have is as president of PNG Core, because the mineral and resources sector, the energy sector, exports is responsible for about 90% of our exports, 35% of our GDP. It drives the country, absolutely drives the country in terms of taxes it's paid, the people it employs, the contracts it gives out. When a Highlands Highway goes down and government doesn't respond fast, it's the industry comes in to fix it. When there's a disaster, like the Mulitaka disaster, the earthquakes up in Southern Highlands, the tsunamis in Aitape back in 98, you think about every disaster we've had, it's always been the resources sector that's been the first to respond. And that's why I think it's one of the most important roles I have is as president of PNG Core, which represents all of the companies that are part of the minerals and the energy space, and all the different companies that also supply them, which includes all your landowner companies, MRDC, all those companies, all of our big Papua New Guinean owned, 100% PNG owned mining and petroleum companies like Octedi Mining Limited, such a powerhouse PNG owned operation up there, and Kumu Minerals. So it's a really quite a diverse organization.
When you talk about impact in terms of PNG Core, what kind of impact, practically speaking, do you have in terms of any industry-wide representative body? Could you just give an example for people to really understand what can you do at the industry? So
I think one of the benefits of having an organization like PNG Core is that it brings everybody together into one, let's say one tent, so they can do things together. So you see it in for example, how they engage on national issues, whether it's about policy, but dealing with government. Sometimes companies can do it on their own. Sometimes it's more important that you get all the views involved and they all come in to talk to government or talk on national issues together. I think the other benefit is when we respond to things. We can respond together as a big organization of the sector rather than responding as an individual company. So when you look at what happened with the Mulitaka earthquake disaster, the landslip and that tragedy with how many people lost their lives, the industry basically put all its contributions into PNG Core through its disaster fund, and we were among the first to respond. We had helicopters up there through the industry. We supplied all the fuel that ran the relief efforts for months afterwards as well, and that was all done as a body, as a whole. The other great thing that we do is we bring everybody together to share their experiences about things that work and things that don't work in PNG. And the big challenge that all the players have is it's not just about extracting minerals and extracting gas or oil and making a profit. All these companies have at their primary consideration, they want to leave the communities and the country in a better place. And so one of the good things about being part of an organization, an umbrella group that brings everybody together, it means that we provide a stage where they can come together and talk about how to do things better, like how to learn from mistakes or even to learn from successes. How do you develop landowner companies better? How do you make sure that landowner identification is done better? Right? How do you make sure that benefits that you give are benefiting everybody rather than the few that are at the top? How do you deploy your health services better? How do you deploy immunization programs better? How do you go in and support your schools better? Like even things about how do you fly vaccines out to remote areas better? How do you collaborate? And so you might see where companies talk about it and then they come together and they might say a number of companies might go and support an entity like MAF together, to help them because they know that they provide, an essential service. So we see that the collaboration happens really because they're part of PNG Core, and PNG Core allows all of them, to be able to interact with each other safely and really, really regularly. Not just through the conferences that we run, but things like, our regular monthly council meetings. And in the council meetings, we have committees that look after specific issues, and all of the companies have representatives on those committees. So I think PNG Core, in terms of bringing everybody together and helping unite them in how to respond and develop stuff, it does a really, really good job of doing that.
Just coming back to something, I think it's of interest to myself, but it'll be of interest to everyone. Previously, the name of PNG Core was PNG Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. And then you've turned it to this very groovy new name, it's Core. It sounds really good, talks about the core of everything, but it also has a very interesting introduction towards the end in terms of energy as well. I know it was changed a few years back, but I know you've now broadened sort of the scope of what you're looking at. If you could just explain to everyone, because some of our staff members are confused, what's PNG Core, etc., and probably people out there too as well.
Yeah. Look, I think it was an important change. PNG, it also reflects how our country and industry has evolved with its main exports. So, we had mining. PNG had such a really long history with mining, dating all the way back to the 1800s, late 1800s, with the first contact with the European explorers. And then petroleum in the 70s and 80s, people were just looking for petroleum, not for gas. When they drilled and found gas, they were really disappointed because there's no way that they could commercialize it. Now we're basically a gas country, maybe with a little bit of oil, but we're basically a gas. And the thing about gas, and now we're seeing renewables, the challenge to get our hydro capacity potential really exploited. These are all forms of energy, right? Whether it's petroleum, whether it's gas, whether it's renewable, whether it's solar, whether it's hydro, whether it's geothermal, these are all forms of energy. And at the moment, PNG does not have the capacity to consume all the energy that it produces. And so the opportunity for us is to find ways to commercialize it and to export it to the world in whatever way we can, in whatever forms of energy that we can. So we recognize this evolution. We recognize that our name was probably a name from like 3 decades ago. True. It's a bit hard to pronounce. Like when you're talking to people who say, I'm from the PNG Chamber of Mining and Petroleum.
At the end,
It's like, what is it, like 8 syllables? It's a long.
It is.
And so we came up with the name because it represents what the country basically is now. Like, it's an export of minerals and energy, all forms of energy. It sounds really good, PNG core, but also like that sector, for the reasons I explained earlier, is 35% of our GDP, 90% of our exports. When Papua gets completed, and Penyang, and Wafi, and Frida, and Wildebeest, and Mailu, and Laris, and Twinza, like all these projects, like when they get completed, you're going to see the impact on GDP is going to be much significant. So you think about core, it's also a reflection of, simplistically, the sector that's at the core of our economic future, in our view. It sounds good though. I mean, PNG core.
Yeah, it sounds groovy, yeah.
Yes, we just have to do a better job of marketing it, of using it publicly, so that people just start to say, when you say PNG core, you know what it means, right? Like data core, everybody knows what data core means.
Some people out there.
That's right.
Yeah, and then just to add on that, because PNG core and the industry, including energy, is also part of a bigger economic ecosystem as well.
Absolutely.
And just for the record of everyone, the Post-Courier ourselves, we're a member of PNG core too as
You
well.
are.
So that captures all of that. Yeah.
Very good member.
Yeah. So
and
thank you. Yeah. I feel so privileged for you to say that. Thanks everyone. Don't smile. So in terms of your
great member.
I'm blushing. In terms of yearly events, because you talked about this really big ecosystem, you put everyone together. How do you get to meet them all? And you have yearly events. So if you could outline, what are your main headline events in your average year? And we'll dial down to one of the recent ones that's going to happen. Yeah.
So we have two big events, and we, again, the evolution of the organization. Used to have discrete events. Part of what we did last couple of years, particularly I think once I became president, and we tried to simplify and expand the sort of activities we do. We have two main events. One is PNG Resources Week, and one is PNG Investment Week. PNG Resources Week is held in country. It's held in country every year. And the idea is it's to bring the entire community of stakeholders, everybody, government, the developer, the regulators, the landowners, the impacted communities, the multilateral institutions, the stakeholders, the contractors, everybody that is contributing or is touched or impacted in any way by the sector. We provide a stage or a venue for them to come together to talk about not just how the resources are being developed and extracted, but also everything around it. How is it being used to impact positively the development of the country? How does it impact positively the lives and the long-term future of the people that live around those projects or that live downriver or along the highway, in the country? So that's PNG Resource Week. In my view, it's the most important event in the country of any conference that's done by by the private sector in the country. And it's the most important because of the breadth of the people that attend. They're not just your guys in suits, who sit in the offices, in air-conditioned offices. They're everybody, the rank and file, the landowners who lead the activism, the ambassadors that lead our major international partners, the developers, the NGOs, and they talk about, honestly and openly, they talk about the really hard issues. I mean, the last couple of years we've had Bougainville. The president came last year talking about, the issues that led to the Bougainville crisis, but also how they're trying to craft a future. And Bougainville has, it's such an amazing lesson because it demonstrates what can go wrong when we don't handle it right. But it also, they're also mapping out a future for themselves that has a lot of implications for how we could do better here. That's the Resources Week. We also have the PNG Investment Week, which usually happens in Sydney.
Anthony, if you could, I just want to state, you guys now have to listen to why it happens in Sydney.
Absolutely.
We know all the, the critics out there, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So we have these two events. Now, the PNG Resources Week is a business conference. It's massive. It's held here. 1,000 people attended, probably more. When we did it in Leh 2 years ago, Leh couldn't handle it. We ran out of hotel rooms. You had senior executives living above warehouses, being hosted, in staff accommodation of some of their clients. That's
Dongas and all of that.
It was really, really hard. Like when we do it here, it's big. A lot of people fly in. A lot of people come in from around PNG. But it's a big conference. It's a massive conference. It runs for, 4 days. It'll be running this year from the 28th to 31st of July. It's a phenomenal conference. It is the most important conference that we run. It talks about the honest issues, the warts, the negative things, the positive things, really honest way. We do the PNG Investment Week, and we do that overseas. And the reason why we do it overseas is because it's an investment event. The idea is that it should be attracting people from all over the world where they can come in easily. If you can't really bring a lot of these prospective investors here, you try to put in a place where it's easy for them to come. So for a lot of people, it's easier for them to fly into Australia from around the world. For a lot of these countries, particularly Western countries, they don't need visas to go to Australia. They have those arrangements. They have a lot of hotel space they can accommodate. Yeah. Last year we had 1,800 people come in Sydney. 1,800 people. We would not be able to accommodate them all in Port Moresby, really to the level that they expect. And they're staying at 5-star hotels, and they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from Europe, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from India, they're coming from all over Asia, all over the United States. Even people from Russia came. There's like the demographic of potential investors that come from all over the world are extraordinary. Now, for them, it's harder for them to come to Papua New Guinea. So if you put that same investment conference here, you get less people. And when we do these conferences, we really do it to get people that might be you already have people who are committed to the country because they already have money here. And those are companies like Newmont, Exxon, Total, Harmony, Barrick. Those companies already have investments here, so they will always come. What we go looking for are those companies that have been thinking about PNG but are not sure. And we say, well, we'll put this event in a place where it's easy for you to come to, and we will bring to you not just the guys who already operate projects here that can tell you it's safe to invest here, but we'll bring the government to you. We will bring the landowners to you. We'll bring everybody to you. So everybody that the media overseas has told you that these people all cause problems in PNG, you'll actually hear from them directly. And that's how we then convince people who might be thinking about investing in PNG but are not sure. We convince them that, number one, we're a good place to invest, that Papua New Guineans are good people to do business with. And then we say, well, next stage, why don't you come over and visit us in PNG? And we have done that. PNG Chamber of Mining and Petroleum has done that since the 80s, and have done it really successfully. A lot of the companies that you see now here are companies that first came in touch with PNG through these international conferences. And we have been doing it very successfully now with particularly after COVID, with the PNG Investment Week. And this is the reason why we do it there. We do it overseas because it's an investment conference. It's easier for all these potential investors to go to these countries in big numbers because they can host them. But it's also a better environment for us to take our key PNG stakeholders there to meet them, to present a good picture of the country. And then that way we encourage them to get the next step. So it's really important that people understand it's not like we do everything overseas. We have a really powerful, really wonderful event that we do here that's actually more better supported. It actually has more speakers. And this year we're doing it at APEC House. We've got a big exhibition that's going to, for the 3 weeks before, for all of the month of July, that's going to talk about, share the history of all of our projects in PNG and our resource sector. It's totally open to every Papua New Guinean that has any questions or any interest in the sector to come and to see it and to participate. But when people hear about us doing this event overseas, the PNG Investment Week, they should not be asking, why are you doing that event? They should recognize we actually have a very big event here. That's the partner. This is the investment event for the investors, for the foreign investors who've never invested in PNG. So we put it over there. For all of us here that want to know about the projects in country, we want to express our views about how we can improve or make these projects work for us better. We have a very big conference we do here. We do it mid-year. It's called PNG Resources Week, and everybody's welcome.
You heard it from the man himself, the president, talking about the Sydney. So you should know by now that particular aspect and the reasons why we do that. You mentioned, interestingly, you talked about the other event that's being held alongside the PNG Resources Week, and I think that's the PNG Golden Jubilee Resources Exhibition. It's obviously it's coinciding with the 50th.
Yes.
Since we hear the word Golden Jubilee, how vital is that, the history of the sector, as opposed to celebrating the history of our independence?
So I think it's, I mean, for the reasons that I mentioned previously, you know, our entire history as not just as a country, but particularly our connection with the West, how we were opened up. Everything is inextricably connected to our resources. You know, it started off with gold, then being gold and petroleum, gold, copper and petroleum, and now gas. And so it's really important that when we celebrate our history as a country, we also reflect on all those forces and influences that have, that have defined the path that we as a country have taken. And the resource sector has been at the core of that. Absolutely has been at the core of that. But you know, so the month of July, it's a month. We should be calling it PNG Resources Month, because from the start of July to the end of July, we have these full suite of programs and activities that's drawing all of our stakeholders together, and it's open to all the public of Papua New Guinea as well.
Free, of course.
Free. Well, definitely the expo is free. So the way the whole program will run is that from the 7th to 25th of July, APEC House will be taken over by what we call the Grand Expo, the 50th Golden Expo. And so, you know, it's a Golden Jubilee. We are the resource sector. Gold is at the heart of a lot of our industry. And so it'll open on the 7th of July, which is next Monday. I think the Deputy Prime Minister is coming to open it. Okay. We have 30 exhibitors, and particularly from the resource sector, all of our major operators, major projects will be there. And they'll be telling, they all have individual stories about their own history, how they started, how they were developed, what they do now, and what the future looks. What the expo does is it weaves them all into this tapestry of what our history looks like. You know, you'll have MRA there talking about the history of mineral exploration all the way to what the future looks like. You'll have, you know, the other government agencies will be there. Also non-mining and non-petroleum operators will be there. You know, you'll have, but all of them have some sort of connection. As I tell a story, you'll see that somehow our resources sector has had an influence on how they began, or how they developed, how they grew, and where they're going to go. Like, like Paradise Foods will be, for all the children that will be coming through, and the adults, people like you, I know have a sweet tooth. Paradise Foods will have all their gala ice cream there. You know, they'll be giving out free.
Thank you.
What people don't know is that Paradise Foods, right, it celebrated 90 years anniversary last year. Paradise Foods started with a bakery in Waubololo to feed the alluvial...
The gold fields there.
The old alluvial gold fields.
Yeah.
You know, 90 years ago. It started in a minefield, and now you look at it like it feeds the country now with Emna biscuits, tasty biscuits, gold nuggets. True. I mean, where do you think the gold nugget snacks came from? It was a reflection of history where they came from. I mean, I'm conflicted. I'm the chairman of Paradise, as you all know, but Papua New Guinea-owned company. Yes. But it tells you the story. So all the companies have, you know, like steamships has a involvement. You know, Hastings Deering, you know, hasn't, like, its whole business is about supplying to the industry.
That ecosystem.
You know, and they train Papua New Guineans. They pay taxes, they pay GST, they employ Papua New Guineans, they contribute to, you know, charitable and social causes. So for the 3 weeks, we have the Golden Expo. We have buses going to all the schools, bringing schools in. The doors are open. They're open for, you know, anybody from grassroots, from the communities, from the settlements, from, you know, the mothers can bring their children, boo-boos can bring their grandkids to come in and to walk these exhibits, but also to talk about, you know, how we had a little bit of a connection as individuals with these companies. And we will get 20,000 people through there. Wow. And it's really like, you know, to the public, the doors are open, come through, learn about the history of the industry, learn about the future of the industry, learn about how your children has a place in this sector going forward. Like, we are looking for geologists, for accountants, we're looking for fitters, we're looking for traders, we're looking for, you know, community affairs officers, we're looking for drivers, forklift operators, we're looking for Papua New Guineans. And you know, the great thing about when you go there, these young kids will see a future for them in whatever way they envisage a future for them in our industry. But also hear from people who were like them, who came through like this, from the most humblest of backgrounds, built a career in the industry, and are now working around the world. True. We have thousands of Papua New Guineans working all over the world in mines and in gas fields all over the world. We've got Papua New Guineans drilling for oil in Alaska. We've got Papua New Guineans working in the ice fields the ice fields of Canada. We've got Papua New Guineans working on the plains, Mongolian plains of Mongolia. We've got every mine in Western Australia has at least two Papua New Guineans.
Yeah.
Like, we are everywhere, and it's not just the engineers and the geologists. It is people like the welders. The bridges being built for the Olympics now, which have Papua New Guinea welders, are the ones putting them together. All these people came through the industry. Many of them as kids, growing up, whether it was in Itapare or Bougainville or Missima, or Western Province, never imagined themselves that they would one day be working all over the world. But it's like little things, huh? You go to Pomtech or you go to Hagentech, then you get a job in Porgera or one of these, or Kainantu, and you learn your trade. And then you work for a couple of years, and then suddenly people start inboxing you on LinkedIn and say, look, we understand you're from Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guineans are really hard workers. Why don't you come over and work for us? And they'll say, well, where do you want me to work? And they'll say, Laos. Laos, there's like 40 Papua New Guineans working in Laos, in mines in Laos. True. So the great thing about the expo is, you learn a bit about the history, but particularly for young people, you start to imagine a future for yourself better than where you think you could go because of the sector. This is a sector that has a place for every Papua New Guinean that has an interest to be in there, and it opens up a myriad of opportunities for you, but also for your family and your community, because that's these young kids, as they go into these great jobs, they take their families with them.
Yeah. Anthony, you spoke about schools, young students. I'm aware that there's going to be an engaging sort of session in terms of a debate that's going on.
Yeah. So Matthew's really good at getting me back on the point. He does that really well. But as I was saying, so we've got the expo 7th to 25th of July. PNG Resources Week is on the 28th to the 31st of July. That's when we have this really important conference, which we call CAN Connects, which is the Community Affairs Natural Content Conference, where we have about 1,000 people coming from all over the country and all over the world to talk about all those resource issues we talked about. On the 31st of July, we have the PNG Resources Summit, which is where all of our projects come and give an update on how they're going, existing projects. It's also where we're going to hear from Twinza, from Mayor Resources, and some of these other projects that are building new projects. Then we'll have the gala dinner. We'll also have a golf day in between all of these things. So over the course of that month, we have a number of different activities that are designed to engage different parts of our stakeholders. The school debates is something we're really, really excited about. We're going to involve all the schools in Port Moresby in a debate with topics centered around how resource sector is really important for the country, but also how it can build the country more. And that's going to run from 16th to 25th of July. It's going to be really competitive. We're going to hear from some of the smartest kids and all the schools around Moresby. We will have finals. There'll be prize money. I think it'll be really exciting. That's going to engage them. We have a suppliers forum on the 10th of July, which is where a lot of the companies that are and public entrepreneurs that are interested in providing services to the sector are going to come together for that suppliers forum on the 10th of July. On the 17th to the 18th of July, we have the PNG Resources Careers Fair. That's going to happen at APEC House, 17th to 18th of July. So that's the students are going to love it. Uni students, late stage high school, come in and learn. Technical and TAFE students come in and learn about what the potential future could be for you in the industry. It's a lot of activities. I'm not doing justice by talking about all of them, but it's basically an event for anybody.
Anthony, you've spoken about families, and I think families are the core of everything in life for us. Everyone has a family, a relative, a friend, someone on the street that actually works in the resource sector. Flies in, flies out, either stays there for long periods. And people always look to them, aspire to be like them. And not only that, the resource sector also provides a lot of things in terms of the human resource we have in the country. Also, it provides for NGOs, provides for sport, PNG Kumuls. Where would our beloved Kumuls be without being the LNG PNG Kumuls, mind you? And the SP Hunters too as well. They're also part of that in the terms of the ExxonMobil support and everyone else in that matter. There are the stories within that we should be telling. And I hope these are the stories that will be told too as well in the expo as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So so a lot of the stories, a lot of the way that we'll show the impact is really by effectively humanizing the history.
Yeah.
Like just showing it being told through the eyes and the experiences of Papua New Guineans. And it'll be through families, right? Because we know that when a person is touched by the industry, they take those benefits, and as Papua New Guineans, we're connected to our families, so we don't keep it to ourselves. Like we pay for school fees, we pay for house cries, we pay for bride prices, we pay for people who need to go to hospital. We do all those different things. So what you'll see is this whole tapestry of human experiences of all these people that have had some involvement with the sector in some way. And, so it's like your one talk, like they'll be telling that story about how I got involved. This is what I do now. This is how I've contributed back to building my country through the work that I do in the sector. And then also the journeys they've taken. Some of them, as I said, are now working overseas. But they'll also talk about how we send money back to help with every issue or problem, or helping bring others from our communities to follow the same path that we have. One of the beautiful things about the sector now, of the way it's evolved, from the first projects, whether it was from Panguna all the way through now that we got PNG LNG, is now a lot of those stories are multi-generational, right? Like a granddad and then his children, or her grandma and her children, and now the grandchildren are now involved in the industry in some way. And it's like a phenomenal. So what you will also see there is these sort of stories that talk about how different generations have become involved in this sector. But what's really interesting, at the core of everything, when you talk to these people and you hear their stories, is at the core of it is that this belief that this sector is necessary to build the country. And they feel their work in making their project operate and contribute in taxes and employment and in compensation and everything else they pay is helping build the country. So there's a strong element of nation building that drives and inspires every Papua New Guinean that works in the sector. Mm-hmm. And so the beautiful thing about the way that the expo is looking, the one that's going to start on Monday, is all these amazing Papua New Guinean stories about this amazing industry that's been at the core of our development and our history as a country for 50 years. Mm-hmm. It's wonderful, it's phenomenal. And I think these young kids, these 20,000 members of the public that will walk through over the next 3 weeks, when they come through and they hear, they don't see the stories of these projects, but they hear these experiences from Papua New Guineans who are just like them. Same background, but have gone on to do these really amazing things, building this amazing industry, are going to feel really inspired. Mm-hmm. I think really inspired by those experiences, where they'll start to imagine a better future for themselves. But they'll also come away with it at the end with this appreciation of, they'll have this thing in their mind when they walk around and go, wow, like this is what this sector and these amazing Papua New Guineans have done for our country over 50 years. And then they'll be asking themselves, where would PNG be without the resources sector and without the Papua New Guineans that have built this sector to benefit Papua New Guineans?
Awesome.
And that's what it's going to do. It's amazing.
It would be remiss of me. You mentioned the word nation building, and something just came to mind, something I'm so impressed with, the evolving evolution of this sector. And one of them is the fact that we might be looking at a new cement and lime operation in this country. And that's literally going to build a country. We're talking about building. Cement is one of the biggest inputs coming into this country. How impressed are you that we are now moving into some of these other areas of not just the traditional gold, silver, copper, and oil, gas?
So I think I talked about this at the launch, and I'll try to make it shorter because I talked about it too long. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the evolution of, when you look at our history of our country, it's been tied to how people have looked at some sort of economic development in PNG to contribute to whatever trends and requirements the world has for particular resources. Mm-hmm. So the white man first came into Papua New Guinea looking for gold, because gold was a store of wealth. And that's where our early explorers and our early encounters with the Europeans was. Either they came looking for souls, the missionaries, or they came looking for gold, which is where you got the misfits.
Yeah.
You know, mercenaries, misfits, and missionaries.
True. Yes.
And then that's why we had all these discoveries. Wow, Bulolo. The highlands were opened up by gold traders, right? Gold prospectors. When the Lay brothers went up there looking for gold. And so we've had this really amazing history. For the first part was people went looking for gold. Then they found copper, and the world needed copper. And then we saw Panguna open, right? We saw all of our copper mines, Oktedi open. The world was looking for oil. So there was all the exploration for oil, and then we found the Kutubu discovery. People were spending a lot of money looking for oil and finding gas, but there was no way to commercialize gas. So it was always regarded that when you found gas, it was a waste and they would write off those wells. Then we found a way to commercialize the gas because the world also needed gas as a transition fuel, you know, to ease the world away from petroleum. And then we started having our gas projects. Around the same time, nickel, which was used primarily for steel, for stainless steel, was found in massive deposits, both in Oro but also in Medang. So the Chinese came and developed the nickel mine there at a massive loss, really bad economics because nickel prices were really, really low for stainless steel. And then they discovered that the best batteries to use in electric vehicles were nickel batteries. Suddenly the use, you know, through technology, the use and requirement of the world for nickel changed. The prices increased. Suddenly, Ramu became profitable. And now it looks like we should try to develop our other nickel resources because the world needs our nickel. The world needs our gas. The world will need our hydro at some stage, right? If we want to produce, you know, green hydrogen needs massive, massive energy. Our hydro is good for that. We could be exporting our hydro to Australia, which has, you know, extraordinarily high energy costs. So the way that PNG has evolved with its own resources sector has mirrored the trends with, you know, with how the world has required particular types of energy or minerals, and also what we have to help the world develop. So we haven't just helped ourselves develop; we've helped the world develop. You know, like I think nickel. Somebody said nickel, like out of PNG, is like 2 or 3% of the world's nickel supply. Like, how do you get batteries into all those Tesla cars, right? Those electric cars, if not for the role that we play. They need our copper. Copper is a new super metal now in the world. Copper comes out of Oktedi, and copper is going to come out in big volumes when we get that across the line, and possibly Frida when we get Frida across the line. The other big change is AI, and I shared it. Yeah. The energy use from AI is extraordinary. I think there's 123 million people using ChatGPT on a daily basis now, when it was just, you know, mere millions, you know, say 2 or 3 years ago. And with the continued growth of AI means extraordinary use of energy, right? In about 3 years, they believe that the energy required by the world just for AI is equivalent to the entire energy usage of Japan. Right, massive. The world's going to need energy, right? Where do you use that energy? You use it in data centers that supports AI. We have so much energy here. It's not just the gas we produce; it's the hydro we have. So when you look at the evolution of both how we contribute to the world, we have so many things that will power the growth of the world over the next 30 years. It's not just our gas; it's our hydro. And things to support them. We will need inputs to support them, input industries. And that's where a role that cement has. So cement has a big role in supporting this. There's a whole bunch of other things that we need to support this. Without hydro, we could be hosting data centers, which could be, you know, play a really important role in the AI evolution of the world. You know, they say in like 10 years, AI is going to use the current, like 97% of the current energy consumption of the world. 97%. Where's that energy going to come from? Now in PNG, we're really lucky. We have a lot of energy. You know, so we're in a great position. I think we you know, we've got the energy that we can produce. We've got, you know, cement and other inputs. The biggest thing though, Matthew, the biggest thing that will power the development is actually the human capital.
Yeah.
And that's the next thing that we need to do. And this is the reason why it's really important we get these kids through. They start to envision a future for themselves. They start to imagine, you know, a better version of what their future could be. because all of these young kids, regardless of their background, have an ability to be, to play a role, but a really amazing role as the industry evolves. Right? We could be an even stronger contributor to the global economy, not just because we host these resources, but also because of the brains that we have in this country that we're producing. Like our population, what are we, like 20 million now? 18 million?
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, we have the highest population growth rate in the world. 60% of our population is under age 25. Our population is very, these young people that we're producing now, they're internet savvy, they're digitally savvy, they're really, really smart. They're just looking for opportunity. And I think that it's an exciting, I think it's really exciting where we find ourselves at the moment. And I think the next month for a lot of these kids could help them really imagine a better future for themselves.
Yeah. Interesting and really true in itself. And just as I conclude, I think the big word here and everything we've spoken about, Anthony, is about the impact of this industry. And then it comes to the word footprint. Obviously, agriculture has always spoken about footprint in what coffee can do. Coffee says that there's roughly 3 to almost 4 million people that are directly or indirectly impacted. But this conversation has told all of you out there and told us that, the resource sector is done so much and millions. As we sign off, I think if you could just give a shout out to everyone to come and join in on the event starting next week, Monday. And and I'll probably call to action for one of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we open the doors of APEC House on the 7th of July. It is open to everybody. It is the first time that all of our mining and petroleum and energy projects have had a chance to show their history over the course of 3 weeks in such a big way to the public. It's open to everybody. It's open to school students. It's open to anybody, any adults, whether whichever part of the country you're from, whichever part of the community you're from, whether you're working, you're not working, it doesn't matter. It's open to every Papua New Guinean. I really, really encourage you to come. I want you to come and learn about not just what the industry does, but also the role that your family, your relatives, your community has played in building this sector, but also to understand where is this industry going to take the country? Where are the opportunities for you, for your children, for your relatives, for your communities, and for your country as a whole? It's really, really exciting. We're really lucky that we have this opportunity to do this, and that so many companies and so many people have given their time to come in and to share their experiences and their history with you. I encourage you all to come. I think it's an opportunity that's going to change your life. The doors are open from Monday the 7th of July, and I would love to see you all there.
Thank you, Anthony. And lucky we are too as Post-Courier Online, because we're a partner also to cover this very important event for a whole month. The whole team will be covering as well. And I'd like to thank you all, and especially thank you, Anthony, for your time. As Anthony said, we could do 50 more podcasts, but unfortunately we just have what we have on the time dial you guys have right now. But please like and subscribe. We'll also put the handles for the PNG Core website, the PNG Core social media pages, YouTube, etc., etc. It's a partnership, and this is what it is about. And Anthony, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Matthew.
your time, and we'll see you at the exhibition.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.